We want to continue our conversation now with Terri Austin in New York. And Terri, there are two types of policing that people don't understand. One is the constable system, where they knock on the door to make sure that you're safe when you go to bed at night. That's what white America experiences. The other is the escaped slave narrative that dates back to emancipation, to Jim Crow. That is the narrative that Black America lives with. How do we get white cops to understand we're not coming after, as they did in Birth of a Nation, white women somewhere living in the suburbs, and we're these 800-pound gorillas?
You know, it's so interesting because for so many decades now, we have been talking about police reform, and it took something like George Floyd being murdered in front of us to actually get the attention of white America. And it's not just police that we have the attention. Right now, we have the attention of corporate America. We have the attention of the world, quite frankly. And I think in order to make these changes, to make these relationships work, to make police see Blacks not as a threat, but as a human being, we will have to do some fundamental changes to everything, the way we think, the way we educate. I mean, it really does start when you go to school, and having textbooks show the contributions that African Americans have made to the United States. It's not going to happen overnight. I think it's going to be a long process, but we have to start somewhere. And frankly, I have hope that we are beginning to see the seeds of change right now.
Is the model right in front of us? Because I think, for instance, of the fact that when you think about the abuses that are taking place behind the badge, we're talking about local police forces, and yet there sits the FBI. And they're highly trained, they make a decent buck, they go to school. Why aren't we seeing the same numbers among FBI members that we see with local police departments?
You mean the same number of brutality?
Cases, brutality, et cetera.
Well, you know, I think historically the FBI has been filled on both sides with Democrats, Republicans, and I think historically, you know, they've taken a look at national cases, not so much these criminal cases on the local level. So they're looking more, I think, at crimes like civil rights injustices, and they are trying to address those types of issues versus, I think, you know, what some would call the local violent crimes on the street, where I think it's a lot easier for the police to be influenced negatively and to have that sort of racial profiling, because they are on the ground, they're boots on the ground, they're dealing with it every day. And they do have these stereotypes in their mind, and they do respond according to what their biases are, some conscious and some unconscious.
Is it a simple statement of fact sometimes that in America we give a gun and a badge to people that really don't deserve to be holding a gun and a badge?
Absolutely, no question about it. And that goes back to when I mentioned about the recruitment. It's not just the training, it's the recruitment, making sure that these police have psychological evaluations. Are they ready to actually be on the street? What is their background? Why do they want to become police officers? And not just when you recruit them, but as you go along. I think, frankly, it should be on an annual basis. What has happened to that police officer while he's been out there? What does his record look like? How many times has he pulled out his gun and shot his gun? Well, maybe he doesn't need to be on the street any longer, because maybe he now has these psychological issues that are going to affect the way he responds to a particular event.
How much is this affecting the good cops? Because I was watching our investigative logs, tape logs last night, in fact, and I heard an officer saying, nowadays everybody's equipped with a cell phone, and no matter what I do, they hold up that phone and say, Black Lives Matter.
You know, it's a really sad situation. I have a brother-in-law who's a police officer. And so I absolutely positively see both sides. And there are absolutely great police officers out there. When I go jogging in the morning, if I see a police officer, I say, stay safe, have a good day. Because that's what you want. You want good police officers to have the type of morale where they know that they are there to help you, and you know that they are there to help you. So I think what's going on now, sadly, is affecting the police force and those officers who are on the force who want to do right, who have not done wrong. And so hopefully, ultimately, we'll get to a point where they don't feel like that. I see these walkouts happening, and it's discouraging because obviously we don't want that, and we don't want their morale to be down. But for now, I think their morale is going to be down.
Terri, we're going to take another break. When we come back, I want to talk about a statistic which almost makes America look like a powder keg waiting to explode. It's one that people don't talk about that often, but we will discuss it when we come right back. So stay with us.